Back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the contents in this channel. I'd like to start by thanking all my subscribers for your kindness, mindfulness, thoughtful, interesting comments. I really appreciate my subscribers. Today I'd like to go back to the case of the Idaho 4. Since I've seen the interviews with Hunter Johnson and his girlfriend Emily, who both were friends of Ethan and Xana, may they rest in peace, and since I've seen the interviews of Jody, that's another friend of DM actually, and Emily. After watching the interviews on one night in Idaho, Moscow, the murders, after watching that one too, and after reading, I wouldn't say halfway through the book, quarter way, after starting to read this book, there is more questions I have. In some ways, I feel like we are getting a bit of the timeline clearer, especially for me because I always believe in the timeline between 3 to 4. So the people who believe the same thing like me would really understand that that is the timeline I'm out for. I found it interesting that in the Amazon Prime series, you hear David B. from the Sigma Chi talking about him being a sober watch. On sober watch, he was driving people, helping people. This is just ridiculous because David Baracho had beef with Ethan and Xana. He said that he spoke to Xana, he saw Xana. I wonder if it was in front of 1122 King Road. He said Xana was fine. She was doing well. She told him that you should link up, you should come and see us. And he said, yeah, why didn't I think of that more often? I don't believe all this nonsense because David B. and David Lodge were having brewing beef with Xana and Ethan. They had them as targets in their mind, and so was Maddie a target, allegedly, for the Sigma Chi fraternity boys. I've always told y'all for the last couple of months I'm really interested in the Alpha Kappa Lambda boys, and those are the Banfield boys, and I'm interested in the Sigma Chi fraternity boys. From the beginning, I've always believed my theories have been the frats, sororities, college students, allegedly surviving roommates. None of the stories make sense. Today I'd like to show y'all a bit about where my theory is leading me. In the beginning of this case, this is all for education purpose only. This is all my thoughts, my speculations once again. I've always thought that a fight must have broke out in the living room. Because I remember in the beginning of this case, when I was watching the crime scene pictures, you can clearly see the forensics team is really occupied in the living room. Near the Good Vibes picture, that's where you see fingerprints on. That was one of the 3 unidentified male DNAs. Let's not forget that. You see red cups. Look at the red cups. Red plastic cups. There's college cups, plastic cups. And I've spoken about that. If you go back to my channel, you see many clips from the beginning I've spoken about this. Nobody used to focus on it, unfortunately. Hopefully, now that Maisie says that her brother texted her Ethan and he said he was chilling at home, maybe it'll make sense with my theory. What I'm trying to say is a fight broke out in the living room. I can picture Xana, Ethan chilling. Maisie never mentioned her other brother Hunter, who was sitting next to her, so I assume he could have been with Ethan because he said, "I'm with Ethan all the time. We eat, we drive, we chill, we do everything together." That's what he said. And they live in the same fraternity. So Hunter Chapin is really important for me. The fact that Hunter Johnson went to him, woke him up in such a manner and said, "Ethan and Xana have been unalived. They're no longer in the world," doesn't make sense to me. Ethan and Xana could have been chilling, just like her father said. I remember he told Arizona News that he spoke to his daughter at midnight and she was chilling at home. Okay. We have Maisie saying he was chilling. Ethan. So Ethan and Xana were together chilling. Then we have Hunter Chapin saying in the Amazon Prime that Xana and Ethan left his frat, that means his room, at 1:45. Find that interesting. Is it going according to the police timeline? Is this something that they are basically doing together? I don't understand. He said 1:45, but we know that Ethan and Xana did not come home until 2 a.m. because Xana and Ethan's timeline is really confusing. But I don't think they came home to 2 a.m. because when DM is talking about it, when she's chilling with Kaylee and Maddie, allegedly on the dateline, talking about going back to the grub truck, we don't hear anything about Ethan and Xana. The fact that Ethan's legs was carved, poor guy, may he rest in peace, shows that these children were tortured. Let's not forget that. The fact that Kaylee's father said Kaylee's face was really beaten badly, injured badly. That looks like torture. Kaylee's father sounded like Kaylee's mouth was gagged. We were always told by the police in Idaho, Moscow, do not go around saying that the children were not gagged. From the very beginning, I'll be honest, I always believed the children were gagged. Looking at the picture Saeed was looking at, you will see that they're gagged. That's why it's always important to think out of the box. Look around. Pictures may be blurry, but they mean something. When they're trying to tell you one person, one man called Brian Koberger came and unalived people like he was John Wick, it doesn't make sense. And when something doesn't make sense, it's worth looking into. Otherwise, you will always believe what you're told. You can see the way Ashley Banfield is talking about Brian Koberger. Disrespectful, unprofessional, the way she's talking about him, like she's a judge, jury, and executor. This is not fair. People are just watching. Nobody is literally bothered about justice in this case. A plea deal. When somebody signs a plea deal, either they signed it because this has gone too far, either they signed it because they're scared, either they signed it because they've been threatened, their family has been threatened, and Ashley Banfield said Koberger and his family have been threatened. That is the reason Ann Taylor was trying to get the death penalty off the table, because she could see that all they wanted to do was shoot this man away, blow away his brains, and that is not right. So I think Ann Taylor did a good job by getting a plea deal. But when I go according to my timeline, definitely these boys, the Banfield boys, could have come and knocked at the door, or they know the code, could have entered, jumped on Ethan, jumped on Xana, and things got wild. The surviving roommates were hearing all the noise. Unless DM was involved, they heard all the rummaging upstairs. Remember what 4chan said. 2:15, the surviving roommates heard rummaging upstairs and they thought it was the Sigma Chi fraternity boys. No, they heard rummaging upstairs and it was the Alpha Kappa Lambda boys. Those boys, I think, have something to do with Kaden Young. I've been announcing that, talking about that. That is one of the reasons I'm upset that True Crime Design just came and waltzed in. And she's been doing that a couple of times. I don't care how big your channel is or how small your channel is. Right is right, wrong is wrong. So let me go back to my theory. Alpha Kappa Lambda boys are very important. Remember that. I've been talking about the Banfield boys more than anyone in this case, for a reason. Today I'm kind of not a bit upset. My voice sounds very straightforward because I'm upset that these youngins are getting away. After what they did to these students, these victims, they really need to pay for this. They really need to be arrested. You can clearly see the Banfield boys are up to no good. Saeed is one person who paid a Venmo for $5, $6. Why was everyone paying for $6? Were they bidding? Which of the 4 victims would go down first? Which would be a struggle? Was that what you all were bidding about? May God bless their souls. I'm sure the Banfield boys allegedly came in, had a fight. The reason I say that, look at the young man's head. Look at this guy's head on the left. You can clearly see he's been in a fight. Look at the timing. 3:08. After 3 minutes, the figures will be running towards Sigma Chi fraternity. Look at this young man's head. He must have had a fight for his life. These 3 young men look like they're wearing clothes that are not theirs. Look at the one in the middle. Ethan Knight. I believe he's wearing Ethan's sunglasses. Ethan used to have a collection of them. The one on the left with the pink jumper, I've seen Ethan and Xana wearing jumpers like that. But I'm still digging into it. The one with his hands crossed, Taylor Parkhill. The Banfield boys need to be investigated. This isn't normal. Look at this one's forehead. Is that normal? Absolutely not. So the Banfield boys, in my opinion, are the ones who did it. When it comes to Ethan and Xana. They're the Alpha Kappa Lambda boys. Nick Scott is the president. Was the president. The former president was Kaden Young. Kaden Young was unalived by Emma Bailey and Demetrius. There's no allegedly. They gave him fentanyl or overdose. He was a journalist student. He was the president of the journalist team. He was unalived on 10th of March 2023, 4 months after the quadruples. Did he find out something? Did he find out the frats that his own frat did it and Sigma Chi did it? And maybe he tried to talk and they silenced him. This case is about they're silencing these young students. I'm sure Hudson Lindo, Hannah Clear knew something. This guy's crossing his arms because his arms is cut. He has injuries in his arm. His hand is inflamed on the left-hand side. Look at this one's head. I hope he's alive. Somebody told me that the next day he did not get up. I don't know if that is true. I do not believe it's true because I checked and researched. At least they haven't written it. So I hope this young man is alive, the one on the left. But his head looks really seriously damaged. I won't be surprised if the Alpha Kappa Lambda boys unalived Kaden Young, or maybe the Alpha Kappa Lambda boys and the Sigma Chi fraternity boys work for Emma Bailey, and Emma Bailey works for Demetrius, and Demetrius works for someone else, allegedly. I think Demetrius and Emma were pushing rugs in the school. Maybe they're pushing it in 1122 Kings Road. King Road. Sigma Chi, Fraternity, and Alpha Kappa must have been working for Demetrius. Ethan was talking, allegedly. If Ethan was talking, that's bad. That's not good for anyone. This is Ethan Knight, one of the Banfield boys. I told you all about him. He unalived his father and the family dog. He shot them 4 times. He says it was self-defense. The prosecutor doesn't believe that. This happened in 2022. He was on bail for 25,000. So when we saw him at the Banfield, he was actually on bail. The prosecutors were saying that he pre-planned to unalive his father. What I'm trying to say is, all I know is we have somebody here who you can really say is a shooter. It could have been an accident with his father, but I'm just trying to make connection. It doesn't necessarily mean because he unalived his father that he unalived Ethan Xana, Maddie, and Kaden. But I find it strange that he was at the Banfield. Very strange. The clothes he was wearing, the sunglasses. He was joking and laughing with the police like no one's business. Peter is the one, you can see his forehead looks nice over there. But when you look at him at Banfield, his forehead is as big as a tennis ball. So that is really serious. Now that we know that Ethan was chilling, his sister said he was chilling, Xana's father said she was chilling, they were most likely chilling at home. And while they were chilling, somebody came, barged in, and a fight broke out. Remember what Steve G said? There was a hell of a fight upstairs. All these young men had to be wearing masks and such things. The Banfield boys, their clothes didn't suit. Look at him. His clothes suits him there. And the clothes that the jumper, the pink jumper he's wearing, looks so off-key. It looks much bigger than him.